Hello everyone, this is Marcus Hiffel, and today we're gonna talk about the top 5 mistakes that SimRacers make.
Big! Oh, huge wreck.
Everybody.
They're still...
These are things that you should avoid so you can become a legend of the tracks and fill your shelves with more and more trophies. Let's go! Mistake number 1. Bad behavior on the track. When we are racing, it's very common to see a big crash right after the start, or some weird accident happening, and it's also very common for you to be driving your car, bringing it home, when you see a spun car right in front of you, and you end up hitting it without having anywhere to run. Or even after studying, dedicating yourself, making a good setup, watching our videos, some random guy hits you and spoils all of your fun. If you want this to stop from happening, or even worse, if you are this guy and wishes to stop being punished and suffering the embarrassment from these situations, and maybe even making enemies, pay attention to what I have to say. There are 2 fundamental tips that you must follow to avoid these situations. Tip number 1. Respect all of your rivals. Don't do to them anything you wouldn't like them to do to you. I believe this applies to anything in life, but in sim racing this is very important. After all, it's a risky sport and a very fast one too. At any given time, a minor touch on another driver might as well take this driver out of the race, which is very frustrating. Treat your rivals the same way you would like them to treat you. Don't throw your car in front of them and don't hit the back of their cars. Famous little bump. And of course, don't take any attitudes you wouldn't like them to do to you. Tip number 2. Try to visualize, imagine any possible accident may happen. The basic concept of defensive driving also applies to sim racing. You have to imagine in your head possibilities at any given moment, what might happen. Let's see some examples. So you are at the start of the race and you notice right behind there's a driver that you know it's prone to be more aggressive and might want to take the inside on your first corner, not caring if you're gonna go off the track or what's gonna happen to you because of his action. So what can you do? You may leave him some more room or take yourself the inside and to go outside. Always take actions to prevent accidents you know might happen. There are a plethora of cases that we can talk about here, but with time and on your own, you have to learn these situations and most importantly, learn from other drivers' mistakes. Watching and learning from other drivers, you'll know for yourself, well, I cannot do this. Tip number 2. Getting too excited in the race. And this is not only a beginner's mistake, but also some experienced drivers who maybe didn't practice all that much. Remember, this is a mistake from those people that don't practice a lot, or maybe they don't know their limits in that track. And then during the race, they try to grab a habit out of the hat and just don't do that. If you're braking at the 100-meter board, during the race, don't try to brake at the 50-meter board because you don't know the reaction that the car is gonna have. You might lock up your tires, spin out, and end up hitting the wall. Stick to what you have planned, because not only you're gonna be avoiding some mistakes, but you'll also be more confident in your rhythm and you know that you have the potential for a 3rd place finish. Maybe if you try to push for a 1st place finish, there's a much higher chance that you're gonna end up hitting and you might have to abandon the race, even losing your 3rd place finish. 3rd mistake. Not studying about the matter. Guys, racing is a sport with a lot of technical terms and you have to know some basic physics. You have to know a little bit about the engine, the tires, temperatures, etc. Of course, it's a lot of information, but all of this information you can find on the internet, and by learning just a little, you're gonna have a little bit of a better notion on how to deal with some situations that may happen. You have to know and read all the rules of the championships that you're taking part. And this is not a separate mistake because this is included in the technical knowledge. Well, you're going to take part in a championship. The minimum you have to do is to read the rules and regulamentations. Because there are going to be many important informations about the competition you're about to take part in. One way you can do all of this is to keep up with all of our videos, our coaching sessions, our courses. This is gonna give you great preparation to face all of the tracks. Mistake number 4, wanting to do everything by yourself. This is a very common mistake. Even if your personality fits like this, try to adapt to a team. There are many teams out there, various styles, and I'm sure you're gonna be able to find a team that fits your style. And it's very important to remember, in those teams you're gonna find people that are probably very experienced in sim racing and already know how to deal with new drivers, or maybe drivers that haven't quite found their way yet. Will always be supporting you, telling you how to proceed. You're gonna have teammates that are gonna help you, even with setups. 5th and final mistake, taking part in a championship that is not up to par with your technique. In other words, choosing a car or a category that it's a little bit more difficult than what you can handle right now. Here's a classical example. A lot of sim racers, when they join, they come because of Formula 1 or stock cars, which are the top tiers of racing. Very complex cars in their engineering and also in the driving style because they're very powerful, have a lot of downforce available. Because you're a newcomer, there's some concepts that you might not have a grasp on yet, be it because of the mechanical adjustments or the driving style that is required for this car. I suggest you to look for a car that might be a little bit slower, that can teach you a lot about racecrafting, fighting for position, and other concepts. So that when you're finally ready to move on to a higher tier in sim racing, you'll be better prepared, you're not gonna frustrate yourself so much, and you're not gonna have to practice twice as hard, also avoiding some unnecessary problems. So my suggestion is for you to start in a beginner's category. You're gonna find the most variation of cars in various leagues like Formula cars, karting, touring cars, prototypes. For starters, I suggest you only take part in short races, a maximum of 40 minutes per race, competing of course against beginners too, so you can compare, you may learn from their mistakes, so you can avoid doing those mistakes, thus progressing way fast. So these are the top 5 mistakes that I see sim racers that are not able to achieve greater results. I highly suggest you to follow all of these tips because they're gonna guarantee you much higher success in the track. And if you want to become a legend, maybe a renowned driver who has some trophies on the shelf and a lot of other accomplishments that sim racers are always going after, follow these tips because I tried them myself. I've also made a lot of mistakes and I'm here to tell you that they work. So that's it for me. Keep watching our videos. If you want to know more about racing, remember about that mistake I told you about. Always go after more knowledge. Click here to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Pay a visit to our website, which is riffeldrivingacademy.com, where you can learn all about sim racing from the beginning, the most complex of things, and become a legend of the tracks. I'll see you guys soon.